Hello, today I'm packing some wheels to be shipped. These wheels over here, well, this box contains 2 wheels already, but I figured I enjoyed the process so much that I was going to do this again, do this in video. Well, I had to do it again to ship the other wheels, but I was going to do it in video. These are Nissan 370Z wheels. They are 19-inch wheels, and one thing I've always told, mentioned in every video is that remember that the dimensions you know regarding your wheels are just nominal numbers. So a 19-inch wheel, actually, for every wheel, all the Nissan wheels I've dealt with, what the true dimension on diameter is plus 1.5 inches, right? So this is a 19-inch wheel, but seats 20.5, okay? And then this is a rear wheel. The rear wheels are 10 inches wide, but when you measure that, it's actually 11, all right? The front wheel, as you can predict, the diameter is pretty much the same story here, but the width, these are 9 inches in width, but when you measure it, it's 10 inches wide. So I usually do this, knowing what those dimensions are. Being I can't make a circular box, I would love to be able to do it one day, but when it comes to accounting for the circumference, most times you're going to use a box. So you need something that can hold 20 and a half, right? 20 and a half box. And I usually do this weight savings. If the wheels are not too heavy, what I usually do is I get 2 wheels face to face so that the center of mass is more towards the middle, and then put 2 of them like this. So at this point, what I'll be going for is, I already know, right? It was 10, ends up being 11, and this 9 ends up being 10. So I need 21 inches wide, and I need 20 and a half or 21 inches on all sides. So in reality, I want a 21 cube, right? So as you can imagine, it's going to be pretty difficult to get a box like that. If I was shipping only 19-inch wheels and nothing else, if I was making custom wheels for the Z crowd, for example, I might consider investing in something like that, investing in a box of that dimension, but most times boxes are going to be in even numbers. And I live in Indiana, Terre Haute, Indiana, and when I lived in larger cities, I would usually go to tire shops and wheel shops and just ask for their old boxes, and then I'd use them because it's a box that's already designed to hold wheels. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're like Amazon boxes, single use, but over here in Indiana, not much luck. So I usually resort to either Home Depot boxes or U-Haul boxes if I can modify them to work. This one here is a very large box, as it tells you, and the dimensions are 24.5, 24.5, 27.5. That's big. I only need 21, right? So for something like this, I'm going to modify this box into this size right here. And I usually do that. Again, one of the reasons, big considerations is that the more space you have around the wheel, the more you have to take, you have to account for that in packaging material, packing and packaging material. And I don't have that. And number 2, these are pretty cheap wheels, so why do that? So I end up resorting to making a pretty tight box, and with a box like that, the wheel doesn't move around so much. And these are double-walled boxes. It might say it somewhere. Here, right here, double-walled boxes, so they're pretty thick, pretty sturdy. As long as someone doesn't do anything intentional, a wheel right against this is pretty well protected. And I guess the other thing is that, in all honesty, the labor costs are pretty high. My cost of labor pretty high to do this, but I love the process. This is pretty therapeutic to me. And also, yet another issue I'd like to talk about is that I end up saving quite a lot of money. Shipping 2 wheels in one box versus a wheel in each box, as long as, that's pretty cheap, unless the boxes are free, at which point, you offset those costs over there. And 2, a box of 24.5, when it comes to shipping, most shipping carriers just consider that 25. So that's 25, 28. So it's going to be much more expensive than a 23, for example. I'm going with 23 because when you account for the 21 inside the box, the outside of the box, especially being double walled, ends up being a little bigger. So I'll show you my process. So the first part of this whole process is to actually break the box down, take it apart, tear it, then make my own box using this as a basis. I'm looking at it and I'm trying to think of the best place to break it. It's going to have to be here. This is where the margin is. Here, you can see this is where it wraps around. Yeah, that's where I'm going to cut. So first tool, scissors. But I have to do it down here so that you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to cut this right here. Before I cut it all the way through, I should mention why they make those tabs. These tabs in the boxes are made so that, well, I already cut that side, that's not going to help. But on this side, you can usually fold it over. This tab is still intact, right? You can usually fold this over. And then have it standing, you know, it should still hold. If the other tab were intact, it would work, but not today, not today. Anyway, while this side is up, let me just go ahead and cut it. The other side is almost done as well. There's no formula to this video today. I'm just sharing the process. I know that these videos don't really get many views, but I always intended for my YouTube channel to, one, help people, so I know that the few people that watch these videos to the end get some knowledge out of them. I'm not happy about that, but I always wanted my YouTube video to not be a chore. I wanted it to be something I enjoy, you know, or an extension of the things that I like to do. So this is where we are. Okay, let's set this off to the side and start with this. So right now, this box has two main parts. There's a blank flap and this flap over here. They actually measure, I'd say, pretty much the same. This one says 25 to the middle. And like almost 50. So yeah, give or take. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it with some sort of a bias. The way I'm structuring it is this. I put the wheels inside the box standing, two wheels, right? I showed you exactly what that's going to look like this. Two wheels side by side. So what I need to account for is that I need to make sure top to bottom is at least 21, you know, 20 and a half, let's just call it 21. Side to side, this way, I want that to be 21, okay? This way though, I want it to be 22 because I'm going to use a spacer in between like this. That's not a whole inch, but eventually you'll find that the box, things just get tighter and tighter. This is just learning, you know, from experience. If your wheels are 20 and a half, you don't try to measure 20 and a half. Things always get tighter when you fold the box over. So I'm going for 21 this way, 22 this way. And you know what, for height, I'll just make it 22 as well. And the reason is, again, from experience, boxes usually fold over and eventually those layers end up taking up the space on the bottom. Sometimes on the top, it just depends on how you do it. So that being said, I've got handholds. I want to make sure that these handholds are going to be this way, so that when you stick the hand, you're not touching anything at all, right? So this side right here is going to be 21. This side, which is this side, is going to be 22. Okay, so let's go ahead and measure things out. Try to get a reference point. I aim for the middle-ish. I'm just going to stick to that. 21. Seems like I need to get another pencil. To use my pair of scissors to edge this down. this might take it on. Put it over. But I'm not going to save the whole thing. I only need a certain height. Remember, I'm doing 22 top to bottom. So I'm going to come here. Again, find a reference point that you're happy with. Have a line here. I'm going to go with that. And then go for 22. The double-sided ruler like this gets interesting because there's a 22 here and there's a 22 here. Bend along that line over there. Cut it here. Remember this flap. I'm going to use this in place of, well, it's not here yet, but that edge that usually gets glued together, boxes are usually glued together, right? I'm going to use this flap as that. Ooh, should have drawn it all the way to the end. Mistake on my part. There you go, that's the flap. I'm going to cut this out. Alright, so here's, oh, not yet. Come here, cut this down this way, up to the line that I marked. You could do the other side, but I'm using this gap as a guide. As you can see, they usually have a gap in between the flaps, right, to enable the box to close properly. It's pretty important, by the way, so I might make it a little wider. Close enough. All right, so let's bend this right here. Awesome. There you go. This sets the depth and height of my new box. Instead of right here, it's going to bend right here. Okay, let's do the other side. Well, this other side, I'm going for 22. Yeah, here. This in here. Let me just measure the other 22 while I'm here. It really helps if you're working on a nice flat surface, but since I was packing here, I decided to just get this awkward position to be able to show the video. You will notice that I only got one side that is very intentional, or rather one line that is very intentional. This side here is just so thin that trying to save it is just going to be cumbersome. So what I'm going to do is just cut it off, the whole thing. I've mentioned that I do enjoy the process, but if I were to do this for a living, I think it would just make more sense to buy boxes, you know. Okay, there you go. This might be a little hard to see from here, but at this point, one of them is just a little higher than the other one. Makes it easier to go over like that. Look at that. So as you can see, the box is taking shape, right? We're getting somewhere. Set this off to the side. Okay, so first thing I wanted to explain was that flap thing I was talking about. This right here, right? As you can see, it's glued over, and it's only for the bottom, the side, not the top. Depending on what the box, my goals with the box are, sometimes I peel it off so I can have a nice clean contact surface. But right now, we've seen that the 22 size gets cut off, so there's no point in dealing with it. Just let it hang out, and we'll cut it off, right? Okay, so to do, start with this. It helps when these have handholds because then I have a reference as to what top side is, and then I know that all my measurements will be taken from this side going down that way. Mark the 22 out. I'm going to mark 22 top to bottom again. Well, do need the numbers. The 22 and 22 almost got me. I was like, whoa. Okay. I'm going to take my next measurements, mark things out before doing this. And here we want 21, right? We want a large enough margin that we can actually use it and fold it over without feeling like let's just cut it all off. So let's go for 21. There's a line right here. I don't know if it's coming out in the video, but there's a line there that I'm using for my reference. And that's why my numbers, all my cutouts can be so even. this one here with care for, so I'm going to mark it out. Not all the way, because we're not going to save the entire thing. And now I need my 22 from the top. I'm going to make it just slightly less than 22. That was exactly 22. Again, because I want that overlap. In fact, this one here, because I've got 3 other flaps, I'm going to make this 21 3/4. So it's going to be very obvious which one should go over the other ones. Let's make it 21 1/2. Why not? Well, yeah, 3/4, 3/4. Yeah, something about right here. Yeah, I don't know what happened. 21 3/4. I'm supposed to go this way. I went that way. I went 20 3/4. Could have been bad. It's gonna bend there. Okay, let's cut things. Ooh, again, should have cut this all the way to the end. Got me again. Cut it to the higher one. Ooh, boy, it is a labor of love. Again, we're not doing this to save. We're not doing this with cost savings as the main thing. Doing this because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy making custom boxes. I enjoy shipping my things securely, knowing I made a box that will do the job right. Again, here's that overlap. Very consistent. It's not fighting it at all. Alright, so cool. What's next? Well, bring the boxes together. See this flap? It can't stay on the outside. It wouldn't be too long. You'll be able to catch it and bring it inside. What we're going for is this. I'm looking at the lineup in there and I'm thinking this box maybe needs to be in the bottom, but it's actually in. You see this? Right? Overlapping. And looking at the lines down there, they look a little closer now. Now, if you were to get this down to a science, you would cut, those 22 inches I was cutting from the top, you would measure the thickness of each of these, right? Being that you're going to add it to the bottom of the flap and reduce each progressive one by that number, whatever it is. If it's 1/4 inch, I don't think it's that much. If it's an 1/8, you'd cut one at 22, you'd cut the other one at 21 7/8, then the other one at 21 3/4, then as it progresses 5/8 and all that. So right now I've got this. All right. Same deal going on over here. So So what I'm going for really is this. Right? Just bring the box together, that's all. You can drop the top if you want to, you can let them be. Usually the tops are stiff enough that I can just handle them as they are. One thing though, I'm looking at this and I can already see a problem is that I like taping my boxes when I do tape. I want to avoid the handholds, so I'm going to switch this up a little bit. Yeah, we can do it. I'm just overthinking it, that's why. There you go, because I want to capture this corner. I did not want the corner collapsing on itself. There you go. Better. Now, if I've done everything right, the handholds are going to be on one side, and I'll tape down this way, the other side. I'm just forcing the square. Again, if you're doing this seriously, you can build a jig where you can put the box together as you assemble it so it doesn't walk away from you. So I've got a little bit of tape, just some tape to hold the box. A lot of the box still needs to be secured, including the top. But what I do, now this is the time I bring in the wheel. This is just kind of seems to make more sense that way for me. Again, at the end of the day, I want to tape it this way so that the handholds don't get taped over. That's what ends up causing, handholds to be ripped apart. Okay, so with this, let's go ahead. You can tape the box a little bit if you want to hold it, but for some reason this box is giving me a little bit of trouble. Don't know what it did different here. Before putting in the wheels, or rather as part of the process of putting in the wheels, I usually wrap the faces. This is to prevent any scuffing, in case they get shuffled around in there. It's almost pointless, honestly. As tight as I usually patch my wheels. The ones that I asked me, don't really, as I said, they don't really get many views on the videos or much engagement with regards to comments and questions. So I'm assuming either these videos are of little interest to most people or they're very well done, that they're self-explanatory. But no one's ever asked me what's up with this film. I just bought this from Lowe's, just regular plastic wrap, cling wrap. And it's one of those that's pretty cool, clings onto itself. It doesn't really cling on other things that well. So, works pretty well. I was hoping for something a little thicker, kind of like the clear wrap they use on vehicles, you know, just a little thicker to protect the wheels, but I've never had any incidences, so I don't know if I should care investing in much more expensive film. Alright, so here we go. I need to bend just a little. Alright. Again, just to prevent them from slamming into each other. Face to face. How will that work? There you go. For some reason, that one fell down. There you go. See, I was expecting it to poke out a little bit. That's more like it. Okay. These. Again, the goal is that when I tape, the handle's clear. I could tape this little overlap. You see the overlap over here? What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to mark this. With my very invisible pencil. I was about to say that pencil is very useless as a marker, but if you think about it as a marker, it did mark it. Just because it didn't leave any blank marks does not mean it did not work, right? Alright, so here. I think I got this thing lined up pretty well. I'll use this as the start of my taping. Helps that I've got long legs. And that it's a very sturdy box, so I can sit on it if I'm tired. I haven't mentioned this, but I usually like taping it and boxing it up in such a way that I see the dimensions, although they're wrong. And this is that super, super strong tape. You have to cut it across, otherwise it splits into those strands. This one's done over here. Hanging loose somehow. This did not happen last time. I must have cut it in a weird way this time. I'll set it down though. Don't want anything loose to get snagged. Okay. I need to go one more here just to hold it down. closer. While I have it upside down, I'm going to go around the rim. I goofed in a way somehow. This gap here, it's protected, I know, but I'm just going to tape over it again. Again, if I was doing this seriously, I would have to mark down my steps and make sure that this flap over here, this gap, never occurred again. One for the middle. And now I'll flip the box up. And run one over across the top. Again, running this is just for this flap over here since it's not glued. I have to admit this, I goofed somewhere. The bonds do not square up like they usually do. Not here, but here. So this gap is a little bigger than I usually have. Something about the way I took the measurements just did not add up, but hey, box is held up together. So at this point, remember the wheel? It's a 19-inch wheel, 19 by 10, 19 by 9, right? You could call them 19 by 19 square, I mean, if you think about it, right? But we measured, and the wheel itself, the diameter actually is 20.5, and then the width comes to, instead of 19, basically, if the wheel was perfect, 19, and if the wheels were perfect, 19 by 10, 19 by 9, combine them, they would fit into a 19 by 19 by 19 cube. But we found out that it's 20.5, 20.5, and then 21 this way. So let's actually measure the box. Let's measure the box that they actually ended up sitting in. 23, 21, and it's not actually 21 if you look at this, it's 20.5, but when it comes to shipping, the companies are going to just go by the next higher number, so I just see it as 21, 23. And this one here was actually 22.5 as well, not too far. And then here it's, I was going to say right at 22, but just a little more. It's a little over 22, like 22.8. They'll just call it 23. So 23, 23, 21, right? Let's measure this one here. 21. It's kind of off camera, isn't it? 22, which they will call 23. And then height, 22.5. So the boxes are 23, 23, 21. All right. For simplicity's sake, that's what I'm going to do when I create the shipping labels. And so that way I don't have to memorize which box was which one. Sometimes I use this discount shipping site called Shippo, and you could lie about stuff. You could say that these are 18, 18, 18 boxes, but usually they would measure them at the point of the UPS drop off, and if it was more than that, they'll just mark it down, and weight, for example, then mark it down, and then they'll bill you later. So it helps, to be honest. And then I'm just going to go ahead and get my scale, weigh them, and then move on with life. You know what? For entertainment's sake, let's get the scale and measure that on camera, right? Okay, here it is, Rubbermaid scale. It's good enough. It's not really let me down yet. If I was in the cocaine business, probably wouldn't use it, but it works well enough. Move those off to the side. Make sure that they don't cause any issues. Is it 0? Yes. Weigh this. It says 53.8. It's pretty heavy. Boxes are much heavier than I thought, so I'll just call it 54 to be safe. .4 on that one, so 0.4 difference. We'll just go with 54. All right, well, thank you for sticking with me during this session, and I hope you learned something, whatever the reason it is that brought you to this video. If you wanted to see how to ship wheels, there you go. If you wanted to get ideas on how to modify boxes that you have, larger boxes to make them smaller to ship wheels. If you were watching this because you just can't sleep, hopefully you're not even hearing this by now. Hopefully that put you to sleep, right?